Hello, everybody. This is Douglas Block. It's Wednesday, I think. Yes, last I checked, November 8th, 2017. Welcome to your 16th live chat here in lovely Portland, Oregon. Winter has arrived. Halloween is past, and it is a windy day. Actually, I tried bike riding yesterday. It was quite windy, and yeah, so I'm don't know what I'm gonna do today. I'll probably go ahead and take a walk or something, not try to bike ride. So we're on the air, hopefully. Anno, nice to hear from you. Thank you very much. So we're just getting started. I'm going to talk about my last two videos before we actually get into the questions. I did a video I posted yesterday on Tuesday called a resource you can turn to in times of need, or a resource that can help you in times of need. Anyway, it's the same idea. So it's about an organization called Silent Unity. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week prayer ministry, and it operates out of Unity Village in Missouri. And it's really, really excellent because what it does is it gives you instantaneous prayer support and help and reassurance in times of need. It was started by a woman named Myrtle Fillmore in 1880s when she was diagnosed with tuberculosis. There was no cure. She was given up for dead because it was in her family. And one day she went to a spiritual lecture by a disciple of Mary Baker Eddy. And she came out of that, said, "I am a child of God and therefore I do not inherit sickness." Those are the words that came to her. And as a result, over the next months and year or so, she was healed because she felt that her divine self was perfect and whole the way it was and nothing could really touch it. So as a result of this, people came around. They were wondering, what was happening, why this woman got well. They decided to ask for their own prayers for healing. Those prayers weren't met. And pretty soon, word spread to other parts of the country, and people started writing to them. So they decided to have, she and her husband, Charles Fillmore, decided to have a prayer ministry by letter. And they published a magazine called Modern Thought. And eventually the letter ministry became a telephone prayer ministry. And now you can call 24 hours a day. I think I have the number here just to show you guys. I'll show it again. It's 800-669-7729 and 816-969-2000 outside the U.S. So that's, hey, Harry, nice to see you again. You were there on the Sunday talk. Good for you. Do you see any natural supplements like the vitamin or omega-3 or something? Let me get this out of the way. Yeah, well, it's been pretty much documented that omega-3 fatty acids are very good for depression, EPA and DPA. You can get supplements in two ways, either through fish oil or algae oil if you are vegan. There are omega-3 supplements made by a company called DEVA, D-E-V-A, that the omega-3s are derived from algae and not fish, not animals. So it's a vegan product. Also, if you do eat fish, you can just eat the fish directly. Salmon, trout, sardines, deep water fish, cold fish, those are your best source. You're vegan, laugh out loud, cool. Hey Bashir, nice to see you again. So if you want to take omega-3 supplements, get them from the company called DEVA, D-E-V-A. Look them up online and they will have omega-3 oils derived from algae, and you'll be able to continue to be vegan. So I don't know if anybody here has tried to use these omega-3 supplements. If you have, let me know how they work out. But pretty much documented, even in cases of bipolar disorder, these things can help. You guys are online. Hari and Bashar, any questions? Throw them out there. Are you vegan? I'm vegan too. I'm vegan 99% of the time, except for the fact I do eat sardines 2 or 3 times a week because I just notice when I eat them, I feel better, and they are a plentiful source of of selenium and minerals, and also the omega-3s. Kabir God I2 says, I suffer from bipolar disorder and I feel strong ability to what? To take decision. I don't understand why, according to you, why it may be causing it. Well, if you're in the depression phase of your bipolar situation, one of the hallmarks of depression is indecision, the inability to decide, the inability to basically make a decision, to commit oneself, because you're sure it's going to be wrong. You don't know. you're ambivalent, so that's why you're having this difficulty. Hi, Raphael. Hi, Truth Seeker. Veterinary psychiatrist, he's diagnosed bipolar disorder. Okay, there you have it. Linseed oil for omega-3. I think so. I'm not quite sure. Alan McNair, hi, Doug. I bought a Man Search meeting on your recommendation. I'm about halfway through. Ready? It's incredible. Thanks for the recommendation. Well, Alan, share that book with your friends. It was written during World War II, during the concentration camps, and it's quite amazing. So I hope you basically are able to finish it and to recommend it to other people. I'll do the omega-3 along algae. Do you take tryptophan? No, I never have, but I know some people take what's called 5-HTP, which is a metabolite of tryptophan, which then is converted to serotonin. So I think that's really a lovely, lovely supplement to take for some people who don't want to try conventional medications. Everything's trial and error. By the way, do you like my green hanging in the back there and my little flowers? I'm just trying to make things a little bit more cheerful, since we're all kind of needing to be cheered up, especially during the winter. So ABC, oh yeah, any thoughts about coping with trauma from the past? Well, I basically did a whole video on that called How Childhood Trauma Can Lead to Depression and Anxiety as an Adult. You should look at that video, and you should get a book called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. It's just type in The Body Keeps the Score in Amazon.com, you'll find it. Also going to a trauma therapist, also doing something called EMDR, eye and movement desensitization reprocessing. Find out if there are any people in your area who do EMDR. It's very good for past trauma. Oh, Truth, you have hypomanic episodes, you bipolar 2, or have you something like cyclothymic? Well, yeah, Harry, I don't even know the difference between the two. I mean, I have mild highs and mild lows. I definitely have a type of bipolar disorder. It's either bipolar 2 or cyclothymia, but in my mind, they're the same. They're a milder form of true manic depression, bipolar 1, where people get really high and really crash. And then, it's a really serious illness. People can do all sorts of really bizarre and destructive things while they're manic. So anyway, I have bipolar 2. Kevin says, Douglas, I'm scared. What are you scared of? Recurrent depressive episodes, says Truth Seeker. I had to believe I have no manic episodes, just high irritability. So what were you diagnosed with, Truth Seeker 1515? Let me know. He said, I must stop taking fluoxetine immediately and take a mood stabilizer. Oh, is that because he told you were bipolar? Well, guess what? There's controversy about that. I have an article sent to me by an eminent psychiatrist that says monotherapy antidepressants can be used with bipolar disorder, which means not every psychiatrist agrees that you need to go off antidepressants if you're diagnosed with bipolar 2. So, it's a difference of opinion. Psychiatry is an art, not a science. What can I tell you? He said, yeah, seek some other opinions, Truth Seeker. Talk to some other nurse practitioners, psychiatrists. See what you think there. Mark Blackmore says EMDR is also good for small trauma. Yes, absolutely. It's been proven. It was discovered by a psychologist many years ago that when you induce something that is like REM sleep, where your eyes are going like this, up and down, it helps you discharge stuff that you've held emotionally. I've been diagnosed depression-free for 10 months, says Hari. I find that B vitamins, having a really active social life, filters out depression. Yeah, well, what are my 3 pillars of mental health recovery I talk about in my video? 1, set the intention to heal. Decide you want to get well. 2, reach out for support. And 3, try a combination of mutually supportive therapies to treat your symptoms. So if you don't have social support, it's going to be really difficult to get a depression, big time. So that's why your socializing is really, really helpful. And B vitamins, good nutrition, diet. You can't have a mental health without good physical health. B vitamins support the nervous system, so it seems like you're doing 2 good things. Have you tried using EFT technique to cope for coping with inflamed emotions? I found it helpful in some respects. ABC, so many people have found EFT, emotional freedom technique, helpful. Google EFT, emotional freedom technique, if you want to try it yourself. But I myself, when I was really depressed, it was like throwing a ping pong ball at a charging elephant. It just didn't do a whole lot. But I know so many people. As a matter of fact, I have a friend named Marilyn who uses EFT with soldiers who have been traumatized, veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan, with great success. There's something called, I think, the Veteran Stress Project. If there are any veterans out there, look that up, and they use EFT, emotional freedom technique. So ABC, you may want to just check that out online and look at the go ahead and Google Veteran Stress Project. Kabir, when you said, I also find it hard to believe Truth Seeker, what were you referring to? Let me know. I'm not quite sure what the context of that question is. Harry says, do you find yourself, Doug, you felt better, then you get a weird wave of depression, you feel like going back to square one? Have you spoke about this? Yeah, well, the problem is that depression is a chronic, recurring, relapsing condition. So as a result, it's very easy to have what I call dips. As a matter of fact, I used that word last night in my depression support group, and some people thought it was very funny. They've never heard of a dip, but yes, a dip is a psychiatric term that's used, and it represents a small downturn. So, for example, my mood scales from 1 to 10, where 1 is you're feeling really, really horrible, and 10 is you're feeling great, and you're somewhere between there. Like we'll say you're usually between a 5 and a 6, and one day you wake up and you're a 4 or a 3.5. Hey, what's going on? Your brain is just you're like having a brain fart. It's like your biochemistry is just going haywire temporarily. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you're in therapy, if you're taking medication, if you're doing all these lifestyle habits, it will pass and it will go away, usually in a short period of time. So yeah, and you're right. The Buddha says, the greatest thing is not in never falling, but rising every time you fall. So of course you get back up. You know how many times I've got knocked down? I've been hospitalized 5 times, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's really, really, it's so common for people with chronic depression to have their ups and downs. The idea is to keep persevering, keep going forward, never give up, as the Dalai Lama says, and just keep on keeping on. So that is really what you need to be doing. Julie Hayes, hey, from Texas, I believe. Hi there. Had a nice conversation with you the other night. Thank you for sending me that Phoenix. I should print that out and show it to the folks next time. I'm going to do that. That was an awesome drawing. Thank you. Mark Blackamore is how you pronounce your name. There's no magic bullet. Fill your tube bag. Absolutely. That's the way to go. That's the only thing that really works. Andrea Rose says, any tips on finding the right therapist for you? Any questions you can ask patients? Yeah, just have you had experience in dealing with people with depression? Do you understand what it's about? Do you understand, that, have you ever gone through it yourself? If you find a therapist who's gone through their own depressive episode, you've struck gold, because that's the one thing that really helps me help other people in my groups and otherwise in my coaching practice is the fact that I've been there. No one has ever told me anything when they've been depressed or suicidal that has freaked me out because I've been there. I know the territory so well. So if your therapist has had some personal experience, that's helpful. But is it necessary? No. Therapists by nature are very empathetic and compassionate. They have good tools. So the most thing is feel the vibrations between the two of you. It's like getting married. It has to be a good fit. And you just trust your gut. Go a couple of times. You can tell at the first session whether this person is going to be right for you. Go 3 or 4 times and then you'll get a sense. Truth Seeker, I get a second opinion. I will get a second opinion. I have crashing lows, but not the manic highs. Could it be complex PTSD? I suffered a traumatic event at 16. Absolutely. Trauma changes the nervous system, Truth Seeker, permanently. Or not permanently, because the brain is neuroplastic. Things can change, but it has a profound effect on the nervous system. So you might have complex PTSD and, along with depression. If you've never been hypomanic, I don't see how they can diagnose you as bipolar disorder. But again, I'm not here to contradict your doctor. You need to go get professional, help and support about this. But PTSD is definitely a possibility. My mother's bipolar, recently hospitalized, having stopped taking lithium, hence the BP diagnosis. Well, just because your parent has a bipolar disorder doesn't mean that you. I mean, I have a friend who's bipolar and manic depressive type 1, and he's raising 2 kids, and they have neither. So, it suggests a possibility of inheritance, but it's no proof whatsoever. Harry says, is it true that if you get a mini depressive episode, you can prolong this episode if you don't do anything about it? Like, for instance, if you stay in bed. Yeah, staying in bed is the worst thing you can do. Isolating is the worst thing you can do. So yeah, it's really, really important to connect, to get active, to do something. Not doing anything is really not a good option, as you said. things do not necessarily get better by themselves with depression unless you take an active part in your recovery process, unless you are your own recovery coach, so to speak, and you reach out for other people for support, but you're the main person who's coaching and doing the directing of your recovery program with the help of support people like psychiatrists, like therapists, like friends and family, like your cat or dog. But it's got to come from with you. That's why I say the first step is setting the intention to heal. Danny Pate, there's this thing now called depression naps. I've never heard of it, Danielle. Maybe you can explain it to me. Well, maybe we can have a joke. I told the one about the art thief last time. Well, maybe some of you didn't hear it. Well, how about this? I saw a sign at a pond. It said, "Parking for frogs only. All others will be towed." Oh my gosh. I hope someone like that. Mark says, "I also have low testosterone. Will be starting T therapy soon. Many people report improved depression." Yes. Hormone optimization. There's a friend of mine named Noah Thomas. He has a channel called Big No No. He's made lots and lots of videos about TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. You should check it out. But low testosterone can be a cause of depression. Would you consider irritability as mania? Yes, irritability is a symptom of mania, but just because a person's irritable doesn't prove they're manic. It has to be part of a symptom cluster, so there have to be a lot of things going on at the same time. Are you ever going to the UK? Well, I lived in Scotland in 1982. I loved it. And, I might, if I have a place to crash, I might visit. But I know a lot of the people who tune in here, who write and tune into these live video chats are from the UK, so it's possible. Believe me, I've learned from life, if one thing, expect the unexpected. You laugh, said GMAC. Good. Someone did. Take a nap during the day to help with depression. Does it, Danielle? I hear that if you take naps, it messes up your sleep cycle, so maybe that's not a good idea. Hey, Jeff, nice to see you here. Douglas, your videos and live chats has helped me more than my therapist. Much love, brother. God bless. Thank you, Jeff. By the way, you can't see, but right below my cursor here where it says Douglas Block, there's a little $sign. That's the super chat function. If you feel like you want to send your thanks for a small donation. People have donated as little as $2. Just click on that little $sign there, and it'll ask you how much you want to donate to the channel, and you can name your price, so to speak, and go right ahead and be of help to spreading the word. Because, there's not enough good mental health education out there. Half of people who are depressed don't even seek help because they don't even know how to get help. So it's important to get the word out. Stein, nice to see you. What is your favorite sweet and sour chicken chorizo? It's kind of a random question. I like Italian spaghetti the best if you really want to know. Do you have any tips on how to feel emotions when you're numb? Wow, that's tough. I've never really gotten numb as part of my depression. A lot of people do. I would say go watch a comedy. Go watch something you think is really funny. Or, go watch, an Alfred Hitchcock mystery. That'll scare the pants off of you. Maybe it's something like that will break through the numbness. Also, go for a really intense bike ride or jog or be on the treadmill. Extreme exercise will basically help you to start feeling again. It's exercise is good for everything. What can I tell you? Yeah, Daniel says, yeah, naps can ruin your sleep cycle, so try not to take them. Try to push through naps. Maybe you can close your eyes for a couple of minutes, but not for a half hour. That could mess up your sleep cycle. Pescatarian, I think. I don't think he consumes milk or eggs too. Well, that's true. Thank you, Stein. But spaghetti and marinara sauce, I love Italian food. Is he referring anhedonia? You never experienced that, Doug? No, I have not ever experienced numbness. I've experienced severe anxiety, and I've experienced black heart depression where I'm looking like this, and why bother? Why bother continue? But I've never had the numbness. Evelyn May, hi everyone. Love your background. Yeah, 2 words. I like that. I just got done with exercise. Really hard to keep telling myself I need to do this for my recovery. Love you, Doug. Hey, Evelyn May. Speaking of crash bags, invite me to come to Hawaii sometime. I'd love to see you, and love to. I've been to Maui and the Big Island and Kauai. I've made many trips to Hawaii. It's lovely. Even somebody from my group recently has lived in Maui before. Another joke. I've said this before, but what did the court jester have for dinner? Fish and quips. Oh, we'll have to come up with something better than that. Do I experiencing psychomotor retardation is what you're saying? Yeah. Well, when I'm in an agitated depression, when I'm agitated, I'm all sped up like this. But when I'm into the depression, it's like walking through molasses. Everything is slow. I can hardly move. That's what you mean by psychomotor. It's not psychosomatic. Harry, it's called psychomotor retardation. It's the seventh symptom. If you go look at the DSM-4 or DSM-5, the Mental Health Statistical Manual, you'll see that listed. My last Spanish teacher was from Argentina. We had to explain Kim changes to her. She said the word sounds disgusting. Yeah, well, I don't even know what Kim changes are, so there you have it. Major depressives teach tolerance. Politicians should learn from this. Yeah, well, good luck. Politicians are insulated from a lot of stuff. Although, Tipper Gore, the wife of Al Gore, who was vice president, her son was hit by a car and almost died, and she went into a deep depression. And as a result, got the Surgeon General to go out there and release a report on the nation's mental health in 1999, which showed that 1 out of 5 Americans experiences a mental health disorder in any given year. So she was a big mental health advocate. So was Gordon Smith, former senator from Oregon, whose son committed suicide. He wrote a book about it called Remembering Garrett, and he sponsored a mental health bill to have more funds for mental health treatment. Speaking of which, on the front page of the New York Times, the headline was Texas gunman escaped from psychiatric hospital. It is really too bad the Times did that, because this basically just promotes the stereotype that people with mental illnesses are violent, and they're no more violent than anybody else. But that's what the media portrays. Leanne, nice to see you again. Meditation has really helped me in music. Leaving the home I loved and moving to a new area has made me depressed. Is this situational depression? Yes. Moving is very traumatic, Robert Lee. What should I do? Well, if you can't move back to where you were, it's just going to take you some time to adapt to it. Try to find things in the environment that you enjoy. Maybe there's a good gym. Maybe you can walk somewhere. It's going to take time. Moving is a big, big trauma. He escaped in 2012. His wife married him after that. Yeah, well, again, we shouldn't talk about mentally ill people being violent, because it's not true. By the way, I just saw an amazing show you should watch on HBO. It's a play called Every Brilliant Thing. It's about a man, when he's 9 years old, his mother attempts suicide. So he makes a list of every brilliant thing that will essentially help him and help his mother find a reason to stay alive. Like the number one on his list is ice cream, people falling over, later on a hairdresser who cuts your hair just right. We had people from my group last night talking about music, laughing with children, feet in the sand, looking at the sky while running. I'd like to hear from some of you. What is something in your life that makes life worth living? Anyway, that's how this man tried to keep his mother alive. It's a brilliant play. If you go to HBO, if you Google HBO Every Brilliant Thing, you'll see a 1-minute trailer of it, and hopefully get a free month subscription to try watching this. So what a brilliant thing that makes me want to live is making these YouTube videos, because I consider it a passion and a mission. Any experience with binaural beats? Mark explained to me, don't know. You saw that, Leanne? Did you see Every Brilliant Thing? Is that what you're trying to tell me? If you did, tell me it was a fantastic play, because it really was. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Tremendous play. What else do we have here? I'm not quite... Mark, if you could explain to me what that term means. Harry says, Doug, why is the chat in slow mode? Can I ask, by the way, you lived in Scotland. Where about? Glasgow. I'm from Glasgow. I actually lived in Findhorn, right outside of Forres on the North Sea. Well, it's in slow mode. I don't know how it looks to you, but it means that there's more time for me to pause in between answering the questions. Leanne, where did you see Every Brilliant Thing? It was great. Did you see it as a live play where you live? I want to know. Binaural beats just put me to sleep. Okay, so that's very, so what does it mean? A beat every second, a beat every 2 seconds? If someone could explain that to me, that would be good. What treatment for complex PTSD? Therapy, exposure therapy helps. EMDR, you need to find someone, a therapist, who is really experienced, who's worked with war veterans. We have a guy here in my neighborhood who only does, or mostly does, Iraq and Vietnam veterans. So there's someone who knows what they're doing. So I myself have never counseled someone with complex PTSD. I've had them in my groups, but I've referred them out. So again, look up complex PTSD treatments on the internet and see what you find out. Is there any way to save the chats with your live videos so that we can read them while watching the videos later? Yeah, I haven't been able to find a way to do that. What you can do, if you're on a Mac, you can take screenshots of this. Like, I could do it if you go like Command Option 4 like that. It'll do a screenshot. So, or it's actually Command Option 3. We'll do the whole screen. So, Jeff, thank you for your kind contribution. Let me know if you have any questions. That'd be really nice. But yes, so do screenshots. If you've got a Macintosh desktop or an iPad or a laptop, which is what I'm on, or even an iPhone, you can do a screenshot and it will save the picture of what you're seeing. And every time there's a whole new bunch of comments and questions, keep taking screenshots. I mean, I should be doing that also. So that's the answer to your question, but you can't really see them when you're watching the video again after it's been uploaded. Look up on YouTube binaural speech for certain chakras. Have you looked at many people do diets with bipolar and alcoholism? Absolutely, Josie. Hey, Josie, nice to hear from you again. Yes, we have a number of people in recovery from alcohol, from pot, from opioids, from methamphetamine. 80% of all people who struggle with drug addiction or alcoholism have a concurrent or co-occurring mental health disorder, which is usually bipolar disorder, anxiety, or depression. In some cases, schizophrenia, but mostly not. And yeah, so that's a very good question. So you have to treat the addiction and you have to treat the mental health issue at the same time. A lot of people have come to my groups, my support groups from AA, because they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, they don't really talk about depression, and that's an important part of their situation. So yeah, co-occurring disorders are really, 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 really quite common. Any advice, says JG, on feeling empty as if I'm a child because I don't know who I am because I always had to live for other people? We have a gal in our group who has the same problem, and she goes to something called CODA, Codependence Anonymous. Living for other people means you're putting them ahead of your own self. And in one of the Gospels, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, which means all love starts with self-love, love of spirit, but you have to really not spend too much time worrying about what other people say or do, because no one's going to, accept you or like you all of the time. Do you think people can be addicted to their illness, like bipolar mania? Well, mania is such a wonderful thing, especially mania from bipolar 1. K. Redfield Jameson, who wrote An Unquiet Mind, which is the book on this subject, said when you're high, it's tremendous. Thoughts come to you without thinking. You feel like you're brilliant. Everything is wonderful. Why wouldn't you be addicted to that? She said, if a drug could do that, I'd be taking it. But the problem is Isaac Newton came many centuries ago and told us a very important law, which is what goes up must come down. Gravity, right? The law of gravity, which means that you can't sustain that high, and the higher you go, the deeper you crash. But guess what? There's a corollary to that, and that is the deeper you crash, the higher you go. So I just did a video I'd like you all to look at called You're More Resilient Than You Think, and I talk about the phoenix as being my symbol of death and resurrection, which is what Julie sent me a beautiful picture of a phoenix. I love that image because going deep means you're going to go high later on. So that's why you should never, never give up when you're in a depressed state, because you know that if you wait long enough, you're going to be restored to the place you were and even better. Kari says, I have BPD. Is BPD or borderline personality disorder? I guess that's what you're saying. Noah, what is the personalization in his 2011 severe depressive episode can give you so depressed to the point that if you believe everything you do is not an action by you? I say, well, I guess depersonalization can come out of severe depression. I really need to do some more research on it because I'm not familiar enough with it. I feel you, JG. That's a challenge for me as well. Hey, Doug. Hey, the Forever Freak. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you checking in. So, 1-800-669-7729, Silent Unity. Go check them out anytime you feel you're up against it, you need some prayer support. Call that number, and they will be amazingly helpful to you. They'll say an affirmative prayer with you on the line. They'll hold that prayer in you and their Unity Prayer Chapel for 30 days, and they'll send you a letter of support or an email of support. It's an amazing service. You do mention the phoenix often, and I think it's an amazing symbol to reflect on when struggling. Yes, Forever Freak, it tells us that we can rise out of the ashes. I wish, well, I don't want to go print it out from the computer now because, it'll interrupt this live chat, but I will have it on Friday at noon for you guys. You should really tune in. And hey, a couple of my favorite people have not tuned in yet. I think I'll send them a text while I'm chatting with you and get them to basically know that I'm on the line. So what else do we have here? This illness has made me stronger, says Leanne, and I never define myself by it. I think a lot of people do. Of course, you're not depressed. You're a person who's struggling with depression, because anything you say after the words "I am" becomes who you are, as an internal self, and you're a person who's whole and complete, who's struggling with depression. So that's what's going on here. And as soon as I go ahead and get this here, okay, I'm going to send a text in a minute to some of the people who I love to come on this station, but don't always do so. But anyway, any other questions? Evelyn May says, I lost my only sister to bipolar. It was so devastating. She would cut herself and felt no one loved her. She took medications and had a severe reaction to her life. I'm really sorry to hear that. We have had in our groups people who have basically lost siblings, a sister and a brother. I can think in 2 different cases to suicide after bipolar disorder or severe depression. You never forget that. It never goes away. And my heart goes out to you, Evelyn May, and I hope that you can remember your sister with love, and also I hope you can know that you can get help, and if you go in the same spot she is, you can basically come out of it. So Harry says, you want to find the same consistency of stability mood, just like recovering from depression, same with bipolar disorder. It's very unlikely in a manic high that you'll go back to a normal mood. So yes, you want consistency and even mood is really the key, especially with manic depression. I like manic depression much better than bipolar disorder. It's so much more descriptive and more evocative than bipolar. Bipolar is so clinical. I don't know why they changed it. Why they changed the name from manic depression to bipolar. Kay Redfield Javison, who wrote The Unquiet Mind, who's the #1 authority on manic depression, says that she likes to call it manic depressive illness because it is an illness of the brain. So that's how I like to call it. Andrea says, how do you find a sense of self? I don't really understand who I am other than the horrible lies I was told as a child. Well, Andrea, probably going to a support group and having people reflect back to you who you are, very, very helpful, working with a therapist, and just, tune into yourself and find out, ask yourself, what are my joys? What are my passions? What makes me come alive? My friend Alan Cohn, who's a great spiritual teacher, says, what would give you greater life today? Ask yourself that when you get up in the morning. That's a really good question. What would give you greater life? Josie expresses her sentiments and her, support for Evelyn May after the loss of her sister. I feel exactly the same way. Hey, my psychotherapist in 1997 committed suicide, so, that's pretty intense. Danny says, I'm still having a rough time with the non-suicidal death of my 23-year-old cousin last year. Yeah, well, losing anybody young is traumatic, a relative, even if it's not suicidal. Daniel, I know you've written to me about that. I'm sorry that happened. And grieving takes a while, and there are grief groups you can go into if you need to. So, I would definitely recommend a grief group if that would be helpful. I have an email address you can send me all your questions to. It's douglasblock@gmail.com. Let me grab my little sign here. Please feel free to email me. I return all of my emails, and leave your comments in the comments section. But if that doesn't work, you can always send me an email. And as we're at the halfway mark Of course, I have to put a little pitch for my book, Healing from Depression here. 12 Weeks to a Better Mood, a complete 12 weeks self-directed recovery program. A lot of the people I work with coaching, I use this book, and you can also use it yourself. Just find a counselor or coach to work with, and the rest is completely self-explanatory. If anybody has the book Healing from Depression who's on this chat, let me know. I'd be really curious. Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate your kind words. And yes, I'm trying to hang in there. Of course, you have been a blessing to me. Thank you, Evelyn May. Forever Freak says, having problems with my job and will hang out until after Christmas. Hang on. Very anxious because of my depressed, unemployed 9-month period last year. Structure is what keeps me going. I have to have it. Forever Frank, you need structure. That is a key to basically recovering from depression. You need structure like you need air and water and food. If you're not working, you can go to an outpatient program like we have here at Providence IOP, where you have structure and groups from 9:30 to 3:30. That's a lot of structure. That's like going to school 5 days a week. Or you can do volunteer work, but you have to find something to do. I have a video on that, and my new video coming up on Monday is called The Best Way to Avoid Anxiety, Get Occupied. So structure helps anxiety as well as depression. And if you're not working or not going to outpatient, you can schedule lunches with friends or family or go to the gym, but you have to find something. When you get up in the morning, you have to find something, some reason to get out of bed and something to look forward to. Without that, it's really hard to overcome a bad depression. Tyler, nice to hear from you. And I'd like to start a YouTube channel. However, I'm very afraid what people think of me. What would your advice be on where to start? You need to ask yourself, what am I afraid of people thinking about me? It's probably unrealistic. I would talk about it with your therapist. And remember, all the great people who have made contributions, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, John Kennedy, they had enemies. They had people who didn't like them. You can't get everybody to like you. So you just have to know that if you start a channel and some people disagree, well, that's their problem. As long as you're coming from your heart, and you have self-love, that's what matters. But I would just talk, with the therapist about, this concern you have about what other people think of you. It's very common. When it's exaggerated, it can paralyze you. So I would say to you, Tyler, as long as you love yourself and accept yourself, that's the most important thing. Harry says, Leanne, the bipolar disorder and depression and the recovery is still the same process. I would agree with you. The 12-week program I talk about in my book, Healing from Depression, can be equally applied to each, either bipolar disorder or depression. Exercise, diet, nutrition, sleep, structure, time in nature, spirituality, a connection with people, pets and animals. All these things work across the board for any mood disorder, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's bipolar disorder, or I like to say manic depression. David Starkweather, nice to see you again. Andrea, it's a lifelong task. Socrates said, know thyself. It was the first question of any philosopher. Hi, Serenable. Actually, Albert Camus, the great French existentialist, said the first question of any philosophy is, should I commit suicide? He wrote that in the book, The Myth of Sisyphus. And why is that the most important question in philosophy, according to Camus? Why is it something that you have to ask yourself? Because in answering that question, if you say no, it's not worth it to commit suicide or to take one's life. In answering no, that means you have something worth living for. You have something that means something to you, and that is your philosophy. It's a very interesting point he makes, and I think that's really, really profound. Because as long as you have something that means something to you, as Leanne knows, or who saw that, I think it was Leanne who saw it, every brilliant thing. As long as we have something we believe in and some philosophy of life, something worthwhile, it's going to really help keep the suicidal thoughts at bay. So know yourself and what do you believe in? What makes life meaningful to you? What is every brilliant thing that makes life worth living? Harry again. Sorry, Doug. Could you answer my question about exercise? And could you please repeat it? Hey, Dougie Fresh, what's up? If I get cold going outside in this weather, should I still exercise? Yes. I have cycling is my activity. When I first started it in 2011, my mentor said, now, Doug, you don't think it's just because it's cold in the winter or rainy, you're going to stop cycling, do you? We're going to go down to REI. We're going to get your waterproof gloves, waterproof pants, waterproof jacket, waterproof down booties, and you're going to ride in the rain, just like Gene Kelly said, singing in the rain back in that movie in the 30s. I'm riding in the rain. I'm riding in the rain. Okay, so you didn't make Hollywood, Doug. Sorry. Anyway, Singing in the Rain is a good film, and I'll do a sequel called Cycling in the Rain, as opposed to rapid cycling, which is why the bipolar person won the Tour de France, because he was a rapid cycler. I made that up. I think it's pretty good, don't you? Why did the bipolar person win the Tour de France? He was a rapid cycler. By the way, rapid cycling and bipolar disorder means you have 4 complete episodes of ups and downs within a 1-year period. So, yeah. So, live for something. Find something meaningful in your life that will help keep depression and suicidal thinking at bay. So, Harry, did I answer your question? Exercise even when it's cold. Besides, if it's cold, your body will burn up more calories. Truth Seeker says Albert Camus is my hero. Well, yeah. Yeah, I know what LMAO means, Harry. I learned that from the last chat. Thoughts go out to all on here who have opened up about losing a loved one to mental illness. Thank you, Forever Freak. My roommate, when I was separated from my wife, a really, really wonderful man named Roger lived with me for 3 years and kept me company until my wife and I got reconciled. And he developed diabetes 2. He didn't manage it. He had all these symptoms coming up, started to get a heart condition, and it was too much for him. So much of the time, when a person has a mental illness or mental health disorder, and then something happens, like chronic pain, like with my brother, or severe diabetes or kidney issues, it just compounds things, and it makes them much more vulnerable to suicide. Because, first you've got the mental illness here, then you've got the physical pain here. We have a gal in my group who's usually very upbeat in my depression support group, but she, had a sciatic nerve problem in her back, so it was in constant pain. How can you be cheerful? How can you look on the bright side when pain is consuming you? So, first rule of recovery from depression, aside from setting the intention to heal and reaching out for support, is take care of your physical self. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're getting enough exercise. And that is really, really critical to keep your mind well, because the brain is part of the body. I find out, is it cold where you're at? Harry, are you asking me? It's Portland, Oregon. What does my Apple Watch say? I recommend Apple Watches, everybody. 44 in showers. That's about par for the course. Actually, in November, it's usually the low 50s, but we haven't broken 50 degrees for about 6 days. That's unusual. But during the winter, it might get below freezing 4 or 5 times. It's nothing compared to New York, where I grew up, or Madison, Wisconsin. Anybody from the Midwest? Oh my God. 30 below zero and 30-mile-an-hour winds. Lake Mendota, forget it. I loved Madison. I was 21, 22. Could not live there as an old person. I'm really not old, but you know what I mean. That's why all my parents' friends moved to Florida when I was growing up in New York, to get away from the winter, to get that warm climate. Nice Gene Kelly impression, really? Well, can never dance like him. So, the other video I just would like you to see, it came up on Monday, is would you rather have cancer or be depressed? Sounds like a really ridiculous question, because, they're both horrible and they both can lead to death. So why choose one over the other? In the video, I say that based on my experience, people with cancer get a lot more tender, loving care and understanding than people with depression. I talk about a nurse who came to my group who was depression and also heard voices. Couldn't tell anybody at work, but when she finally was diagnosed with level 1 cancer, and she told people, they brought her food and balloons, and they hugged her, and they gave her pink ribbons, and all this love showered out. If she had said, I hear voices, or I'm suicidally depressed, they would have run the other way, that way. So unfortunately, there's still a huge stigma about depression more than cancer. So, but would I rather have cancer? No, because I've seen friends die of cancer, and depression, if we hang on there, we do get better unless we take our lives. Fortunately, most of the people who are suicidal don't act on it, and most of them recover. So that's a wonderful thing. Greg Sandler says, my therapist this week encouraged me to accept reality the way it is instead of constantly wishing things were different. From a place of acceptance, you can begin again from a healthier place. Greg, that's an amazing, amazing thought, and it's true. And I have a whole video on that about how acceptance is the first step in change and the first step in healing. There's a very famous book written by a Buddhist nun called Tara Brach, Brachthara, called Radical Acceptance, and it's just about this. The first step in changing something is to accept where you are right now. It doesn't mean you have to approve of it or like it, but how can you not accept it? It's the reality. If there's an old saying, whatever you resist persists. So if you fight against something, it just makes it worse. There was a very famous book called There's No Such Thing as a Dragon, and where this little bitty dragon comes to live with a boy. His mother keeps denying its existence, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it finally runs off with a house down the street. And when the mother finally says, okay, maybe there are dragons, the dragon shrinks back to its little size, and the mother says, well, why do you think it had to get so big? And the boy says, maybe he just wanted to be noticed. We need to notice our pain. We need to notice our suffering and not be afraid of it, not try to push it away and not try to eliminate it instantly. We need to accept it because suffering brings depth and compassion. There's a lot of gifts when people go through suffering. Every single great human being, man or woman I've ever met, has been to hell and back. Let me see. So Greg, excellent point. Excellent point. Angie, haven't seen you here before. I've lived in Madison for over 30 years. Yes, it sucks. No outdoor exercising for me anymore. Hey, what about the fall, summer, and spring, Angie? What about sailing on Lake Mendota, which I used to do, or Lake Winona? What about Picnic Point? Come on. Wisconsin is awesome in the spring and summer and fall. So, although it gets a little too humid in the summer. Madison's a cool town, don't you think, Ange? Hari says, hard to keep one's mood up in the winter here. Yeah, well, there are some sunny days in the winter, I know, and if you feel it's too dark, you should get a light box. I have it up on my desk over there, but I'll show it to you next time. But it's been proven to reset the biological clock. So if you suffer from winter depression, where you get out of sync because of the days are dark and not very long, and the nights are long, getting a light box can really, really help. So try that. Hurry, don't try meth. It won't work. What? Where'd that come from? Unfortunately, when I was depressed, I just kind of kept going through the ups and downs of the days where I got stretches of elevated mood, but it wasn't constant. I had to be honest with where I felt. I don't know. Harry never mentioned anything about using meth, I don't think. Well, yes. Again, Isaac Newton, what goes up must come down. Very famous book by the son of a man named David Sheff, who used to write for Psychology Today and interviewed John Lennon and Yoko Ono while John was alive. And his son named Nick wrote a book called Tweak. It's all about his life addicted to methamphetamine. It was a horrifying journey of what life is as a drug addict. Believe me, as bad as depression is, as hellish as it is, as disgusting as it is, it's nothing compared to, the life of a drug addict who's on the street stealing and trying to keep his habit going and, betraying people he loves. It's ugh. At least depressed people don't hurt other people and don't steal and lie most of the time. Harry says, I'm straight edge. Well, good for you. I have one. I've been using it every morning, says Ange. Hey, and how is the Lightbox working? David says I was kidding. Okay, well, I was voted most gullible in my high school class, so I took you seriously. Oh, why no background music today? Well, here, I'll get something. I was going to play something. It's Johann Sebastian Bach. I'll be right there in the last 10 minutes. Thank you for reminding me. I'm just going to grab my iPad. Be right there. This is something I downloaded from the internet. Let me go to iTunes here, to music, and let me go to check this out, guys. Can you hear that True Seeker 1515? This is called the French Suite by Johann Sebastian Bach, played by a very talented pianist named Simone Dinnerstein. I was actually going to play this in the background, but I didn't know if you guys would like it or not. So, Truth Seeker, right now, tell me what you think of this music as you're hearing it. Let me know if you can hear it. Hi, Doug. Have you ever never experienced the feeling of completely nothingness? To me, that was the most emotionally numbing. I've never really experienced complete nothingness. Of course, that's an aspect of being completely, devoid of feeling. Fortunately, I haven't had to deal with that. Some votes out there. How do you like this music? I'll play it next time. I think it's amazingly soothing and beautiful. Bach. Anytime I have a whole video on the role of music in healing from depression. I should talk about that again. There's music to calm you down. There's music to get you excited when you're depressed, to exercise too. Wonderful. You love the piano. How about other people? How about Harry or Ange or David or, Evelyn? Any of you guys who are still on there? Let me know what you think of this background music. I will definitely play it. And in fact, I'm going to do a video today, which want you guys to look at tomorrow. It's called a 5-minute daily check-in. And I talk about taking some time every day to go inside, tune in with yourself, ask yourself what you need right now, and use music during that 5-minute check-in to help calm you down. Love it. Oh, good. Can you turn that racket down? Okay, I'll make it lower. See? We can't please everybody, can we? How's that, Kate? A little better? Peaceful music. It's very peaceful. And when you're anxious, you need peace. Got to be gentle with older folks. Back in '48, they had to make their own Prozac. You want to know what the side effects were? Yeah, like the music. Okay, is it too loud? I turned it down a little bit. I got to figure out what the right level is if I'm going to do this again. Anyway, cancer versus depression. What do you think? Both horrible. Do you agree that if you have a broken leg and you miss work, they're sympathetic? If you miss work because you're depressed and can't go in, they're not so sympathetic? There's a difference. Oh, you were joking. Well, darn it. Well, okay. Thanks, Kate. I was voted most gullible in high school. And I didn't even know what the word gullible meant. Gullible means easily tricked or believing everything you hear. So it's amusing. It's amazing music. It's the French Suite. You should try to listen to it on the internet. It's one of the most beautiful pieces of piano music I've ever heard. I know this might be inappropriate. Plenty of sex with your girlfriend is great too, Doug. Well, hey, sex activates the dopamine receptors in the brain, and it's what keeps the human race procreating and going. Nature programmed us to make sex really pleasurable because otherwise, people would not have kids. So, although too much of anything is bad for you, Harry, there are people who are actually addicted to sex. And there's even a 12-step group called Love and Sex Addicts Anonymous. So even something as wonderful as sex can be overdone. But yes, I agree. Having sex with someone you love is a peak experience. Combine sex and music. All right. Hey, we're getting all these mood uplifting tips here. Music and guitar is everything to me. Life without music would be so boring. I play guitar every day and it helped me a lot. Bashar, that's beautiful because I have a guy I'm coaching in Reno, Nevada, who started taking out his guitar, at my request, and he's now playing it, and that is the number one thing he uses. By the way, do you like the flowers back there, the yellow flowers? Let me know what you think. I always use them on my videos, and I thought during my live chats I would use them also. So let me know about that. I think color brings lots of stuff in there. Yellow is a very cheerful color, by the way. I have yellow shirts I like to wear when it's gray and dark outside like it is now. So, Bashar, keep playing the guitar. Absolutely great. Well, we have about 7 minutes left. We'll be wrapping it up. Haven't heard any comments about this whole idea about depression versus cancer. So I'll just tell you what I think. I think that that physical illnesses like cancer and heart disease, are horrible things, but unfortunately, people are more sympathetic to people who have those than people with depression, especially if there's a psychotic episode. Psychotic aspect of depression. So many people just don't understand it, get over it. What are you thinking? You have everything. Look at you, have a wife, you've got 2 kids, or you got a husband, and you got 2 kids, and you've got a good job. What do you have to be depressed about? Singing. Oh, yes, Forever Freak. There's a very amazing poet from India who says, God respects me when I pray, but he loves me when I sing. Well, this came to the end. I guess I'll go ahead and restart it if I can. Yeah, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I'll have to put it on, what do you call it? Repeat cycle. Again, Johann Sebastian Bach, French Suite. David says, when I'm depressed, I find music without lyrics is best. Lyrics set up too much rumination. Okay, what about All You Need Is Love by the Beatles, or I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash? Some lyrics are, or Second Wind by Billy Joel. I like music with lyrics that are encouraging and uplifting. So, yeah, music. Wow, soothes the savage beast. None of us could live without music, could we? I play music to go to sleep. I play classical music when I'm working. When I'm working on my computer, writing these scripts to share with you people, if it's silent, I just get depressed. It's just I need sound in my background, and I play this kind of sound. It's very meditative, and hey, I love Led Zeppelin. I love the Cream. I love the Doors, right? But you can't really write to that music. You can exercise and you can dance. Turn it up, says Cade. Well, there you got it. Beautiful. Simone Dinnerstein, look her up. She does something called the Goldberg variations. I think Mozart and Bach especially can be very helpful for people with anxiety and depression. It has a calming effect, believe me, very calming. All right, thank you, says Kate. I'm more than welcome. We'll play it next time. Healingfromdepression.com is my website. Book is called Healing from Depression, and you can email me, douglasblog@gmail.com. Oh, by the way, when I close off in about 4 minutes, this chat will keep going. So any of you who want to talk to each other, or connect with each other, can do so. I think for up to 10 minutes. So anyway, I'm going to. What am I going to do? I'm going to put healingfromdepression.com. There you have it. There's the website. So, my schedule. We're doing these live chats every Wednesday at 11 Pacific time, Friday at noon Pacific time, and Sunday at noon Pacific time. Videos are always uploaded Monday morning and probably Tuesday or Thursday. I'm not quite sure, how much I've got in me, but at least the one video and the 3 chats, at least 4 times a week, we get to hang out and talk about healing, because that's the name of the game. I say jokingly, there's never been a better time to be mentally ill. In the old days, they used to throw people in ponds and freeze them with water or chain them. I mean, we're so much more humane now. And I should talk about TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's helped a couple of people in my group when medications fail, and of course ECT, which is controversial, but in my experience, it's awesome. Thanks, Doug. Thank you so much. I find that people assume I'm being ungrateful when depressed. No, they don't understand. You're not being ungrateful. You just can't, really be, joyful and communicative because your nervous system is shot. Thank you, says Truth Seeker. Thank you also. Again, if you want to use this super chat function right below my name, it will help this channel. I know a couple bucks doesn't seem like a lot, but we have about 6,500 subscribers. I just broke the 200,000 minute mark in terms of 200,000 minutes viewed per month. That's about 12 hours. I don't know how many. What is that? I think it's about 100 hours a day or 120 hours a day. That's a huge amount of time that people are tuning in and getting help. What do I think about 7 Cups of Tea? I think it's a book that's really cool. It was controversial. People thought he might have made that up, but it has a beautiful message to it. Absolutely beautiful message. The flowers look great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That's a picture of Albert Einstein. How am I going to point over that? Yeah, that over there. I can't. That's Albert Einstein. On the cover of Time magazine, he won Man of the Century. Normally they have Man of the Year. Einstein, by the way, was a beautiful mystic, and I'll read you some of his quotes next time. I love quotes, by the way. I'm gonna be doing videos with my favorite quotations coming up pretty soon. Difficult to cultivate the attitude of gratitude. Yes, it is, David, but it's important. So this is what you guys can do. At the end of every day, have a little journal and write down one thing that went well that day. One thing. There's got to be one thing. Even if you had a 20-second respite from your hell and you saw the sunset, or a bird chirped, or you remembered a pleasant memory from your past. There's always something to be thankful for. As my friend says, I have a roof over my head, food in the cupboard, and gas in the tank. Not everybody has that, So there's something you can be grateful for, and the more you focus on it, the better you'll feel. It will definitely help your nervous system. Albert is my hero too, says True Saker. Andrea, it's difficult to cultivate the attitude of gratitude. Yeah, but you can do it. All right, looks like the 1 hour time has come and the song has stopped. I appreciate, thank you for the time, no problem. I love doing this. Again, Friday at noon, Sunday at noon, healingfromdepression.com, the website, the YouTube channel you're on now. Please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, up in the right-hand corner, there's a little subscribe button. Hit that, and there's a bell to the right of that. And that will get you instant notifications every time we have a YouTube live chat or every time I upload a video. Click on that little bell, and that way we can spread the word, get more and more people involved in this community, and hopefully bring light and love to people who need it, because depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, OCD, PTSD, these are things that are still not understood well enough by the public, and they cause a huge amount of pain and suffering. Fortunately, there is treatments for them. There's a lot of good people in the mental health field who are working tirelessly to help people like you and me, including myself. But should we end with a joke? I don't know. I think I told this last time about the art thief who got caught when his van stalled outside the Louvre, the art museum in Paris. He said, "I shouldn't have taken the Picassos. I needed the Monet so I could put gas in the car to make the van go." My God. Well, sorry, but, I like puns. What can I tell you? All right. Well, as we say, south of the border, hasta luego. Until we meet again, vaya con Dios, go with God, and may the force be with you. And as I conclude all of my videos, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you so much.